Hello there, welcome to my presentation. I'd like to start with a little introduction. My name is Nina. I'm a first year student. I'm 21 years old and I'm really interested in psychology and sociology, especially how our behaviors affect the brain and mental processes. Today I'll be talking about how alcohol affects memory, and I'll be comparing experimental and non-experimental research methods to examine causal and correlational effects. I chose this topic because alcohol use is very common among university students, and memory is something we rely on every single day, especially in school. So understanding how lifestyle factors like alcohol and sleep affect memory feels very relevant. Um, so today's topic is going to be alcohol and memory, as I said. I've chose the subdiscipline memory, um, which is a part of cognitive psychology. Memory is the ability to encode, store, and retrieve information. Without memory, we wouldn't be able to learn, recognize people, or even remember what we studied for an exam. Блять, сука. Так. Hello there, welcome to my presentation. My name is Nina. I'd like to start with a little introduction. So I'm a first year student here at Capilano University. I'm interested in psychology and sociology, especially how our behaviors affect the brain and mental processes. Today I'll be talking about how alcohol affects memory, and I'll be comparing experimental and non-experimental research to examine causal and correlational effects. I chose this topic because alcohol use is very common among university students, and memory is something we rely on every single day, especially in school. So understanding how lifestyle factors like alcohol and sleep affect memory feels very relevant. So as I mentioned, the topic is going to be alcohol and memory. I've chosen the subdiscipline memory, which is a part of cognitive psychology. Memory is the ability to encode, store, and retrieve information. Without memory, we wouldn't be able to learn, recognize people, or even remember what we studied for an exam. My focus is specifically on how alcohol and sleep affect memory performance. Memory is a core cognitive function, but it's not fixed. It's influenced by behavior and lifestyle choices. Things like drinking habits and sleep quality can significantly impact how well our brain processes and recalls information. So before I talk about the studies, I want to briefly explain the difference between experimental and non-experimental research. Experimental research involves manipulating an independent variable to test cause and effect relationships. For example, giving alcohol to participants and measuring how their memory changes. Non-experimental research does not manipulate variables. Instead, it observes natural behavior and looks for correlations, such as whether habitual drinking and poor sleep are associated with lower memory performance. Both of these methods are empirical, meaning they are based on systematic observation and data collection. Um, the experimental study I'm covering was led by the lead author, whose name is Concepcion Vinader Cairos. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. She's a PhD from the Department of Psychobiology at the University of Valencia. Since she holds a doctoral degree in psychobiology and has research experience in alcohol and cognition, she conducts scientific research in this area and is qualified to study the neurocognitive effects on alcohol. The study was published in Alcohol and Alcoholism, which is a peer-reviewed scientific journal, which means that before publication, other experts in the field reviewed the research to ensure it met the scientific standards. Moving on to the issues and theories of the study. The main issue in this study was how does acute alcohol consumption affect memory in adolescents, men and women. The theory behind the study is that alcohol is neurotoxic, meaning it can harm brain cells. It especially affects the hippocampus, which is the part of the brain where the new memories are formed. The researchers tested three hypotheses. The first one is the immediate visual memory decreases after alcohol. Second, working memory is less affected. And third, women are more vulnerable than men, meaning that they're more vulnerable than men to alcohol's neurotoxic effects. So the data collection of the study, it was a randomized experimental study, which included 172 adolescent undergraduate students. They were randomly assigned to either alcohol group or control group. Random assignment is important here because it reduces bias and increases internal validity. Participants were tested using subtests from the Wechsler's memory scale, which measures different types of memory. And the researchers measured immediate visual memory and working memory. They also compared binge drinking participants to non-binge drinking participants. Because alcohol consumption was directly manipulated, the design allows researchers to examine causal effects. The conclusion of this particular study, the results showed that immediate visual memory was significantly impaired in the alcohol group. Alcohol group mean score is 72, and controls group is 85. This is a pretty noticeable decrease. However, working memory was not significantly affected. The study also found gender differences, with women being more affected by alcohol's neurotoxic effects. And the conclusion is that acute alcohol consumption directly impairs certain types of memory, particularly visual memory, and that adolescent women may be more vulnerable. Moving on to the non-experimental study. So it was led by Daniel Ekpenia. I hope I pronounced that right. He has a PhD from the Department of Physiology at the University of Cape Coast in Ghana. He qualifies for conducting research on alcohol, sleep, and brain function. This study was published in Brain Behavior Journal, in a peer-reviewed journal. So moving on to the issues and theories of the study. This study examined the interaction between alcohol use and sleep deprivation on memory performance. The main theory was that poor sleep and alcohol use together impair memory more than either factor alone. And the hypotheses were, the first one is poor sleep and the use of alcohol leads to memory deficits. Sleep quality moderates alcohol's effect on cognition. In other words, sleep might either worsen or influence alcohol's impact on memory. So the data collection, it was a cross-sectional research, which included questionnaires and various cognitive tests like measures of sleep quality and cognitive memory tests. The amount of participants, it's 242 male university students. They calculated correlations between alcohol use, sleep deprivation, and memory performance. Because variables were not manipulated, this study cannot prove causation, but it can show meaningful relationships between variables in real-world settings. The conclusion of the study. So the results showed alcohol use and poor sleep were positively correlated. This means that students who drank more were more likely to have poor sleep, and students with both risk factors were 4 times more likely to show memory deficits. The researchers concluded that sleep interacts with alcohol use, worsening memory outcomes. However, because this was a correlational research, we cannot say alcohol and sleep caused memory problems, only that they are associated. So comparing these two methods, experimental research is conducted in controlled environments. Variables can be manipulated and allows researchers to establish cause and effect relationships. Meanwhile, non-experimental research observes real-world behavior and does not manipulate variables. And experimental methods are more appropriate when researchers want to determine whether one variable directly causes changes in another, and non-experimental methods are more appropriate when manipulation would be unethical, impractical, or when studying natural behaviors like long-term habits and sleep patterns. Uh, I think these both methods provide insights and complement each other. So that leads us to the conclusion. And both studies demonstrate that alcohol negatively affects memory, but they approach the question differently. The experimental study shows that alcohol directly impairs immediate visual memory, especially in adolescent women. The non-experimental study shows that alcohol and poor sleep are associated with memory deficits, and their combined effect increases risk. Each method has its strengths. Experiments reveal cause and effect relationships. Non-experimental research reveals natural relationships in real-world patterns. And by using both approaches, researchers gain a more complete understanding of how alcohol and lifestyle factors influence cognitive functioning. Thank you very much. That will be the end of my presentation.